We were friends for 15 years. That's longer than some marriages. And it ended the way most toxic friendships do. Not with a bang, with a quiet realization. Her name was Claire, and we met in college. We bonded immediately. The kind of friendship that feels destined, like you were always supposed to find each other. For years, we did everything together. Classes, parties, late-night conversations. We were the type of friends who shared everything. Or so I thought. Looking back, I realize I was doing most of the sharing, and she was doing most of the taking. The pattern started small, almost imperceptible, a favor here and there, nothing that seemed unreasonable. Then the favors accumulated, money for rent, a place to stay, a job recommendation, emotional support through crisis after crisis. Always me providing, always her needing. For a long time, I didn't mind. That's what friends do. You help each other. You sacrifice. You show up. I was showing up. What I didn't realize was that she was counting on it, depending on it, expecting it. The first time I said no to something, she acted confused, hurt even, like I had betrayed her. She needed money for a car payment, a significant amount. I had just started a new job. My finances were tight. I told her I couldn't help. She didn't ask again, but she also didn't talk to me for 2 weeks. When she finally reached out, she acted like nothing had happened, but the message was clear. If I couldn't help, I wasn't being a good friend. I felt guilty. So I borrowed the money and gave it to her. That was probably my biggest mistake, because it taught her that if she just waited long enough, I would cave. Over the next several years, the requests escalated. Money for bills, money for emergencies, money for wants disguised as needs, emotional support for problems she created and refused to fix, a listening ear at 3 in the morning, a shoulder to cry on, a person to blame when things went wrong. Always me. Always available. Always willing. I started to notice something. She never asked how I was doing. Not really. She would ask, but only as a formality, before pivoting to her own problems. When I tried to share something happening in my life, she would listen for a bit, then interrupt with her own crisis. Her pain always seemed bigger than mine. Her problems always seemed more urgent. I gradually stopped trying to share, because I learned that my problems weren't relevant. My life was relevant only insofar as it served hers. I had become a utility, not a friend, a place to deposit emotional waste, a bank account to withdraw from, a person to blame when she felt bad. For years, I accepted this, because I thought that's what love meant. That friendship meant sacrificing yourself. That loyalty meant endless tolerance. Then something shifted. I was going through a rough period. A relationship ending. Career uncertainty. General life confusion. I finally admitted to Claire that I was struggling, that I could use some support. Her response was to tell me about her week, which had been stressful, which was always stressful. She spent 45 minutes talking about her problems. Not once did she ask about mine. When she finally left, I sat alone and realized something. This person didn't care about me, not really. She cared about what I could do for her. The realization was both devastating and clarifying. I spent the next week thinking about our friendship, mapping out the patterns, counting the sacrifices, measuring the imbalance. It was staggering. I had given so much, received so little, and I had enabled it by never saying no. So I decided to change, not to end the friendship, just to set boundaries. The next time Claire called asking for money, I said no, firmly but kindly. She asked why. I told her I couldn't afford it. She suggested I find a way, borrow from someone else, take a loan, sell something, anything but let her down. I said no again. For the first time in our friendship, I stood firm. She got angry. She said I was being selfish, that I didn't care about her, that after 15 years I was abandoning her when she needed me most. I felt the guilt rising, that familiar pressure to give in, but I didn't. I told her I cared about her, but I couldn't continue funding her life. If she needed money, she needed to figure it out herself. She hung up. For 2 weeks, she didn't contact me. When she did, it was to ask for something else. This time, a place to stay. Her apartment situation had fallen through. She needed somewhere to live. I said no. She was shocked. She reminded me of all the times I'd helped her, all the favors I'd done, as though past kindness obligated me to endless future sacrifice. I told her I would help her look for apartments. I would support her emotionally, but I couldn't let her move in. She accused me of being cruel, of abandoning her, of never really being her friend. I didn't argue. I just held the boundary. Over the next few months, she kept testing me. Different requests, different angles, same underlying message, that my job was to help her. That real friendship meant unlimited sacrifice, that I was selfish for having limits. Eventually, I realized something. No amount of boundary setting would change this. Because she didn't want to change. She wanted a person who would absorb her problems indefinitely, and I couldn't be that person anymore. I didn't want to be. So I made the difficult decision. I ended the friendship. Not with anger, not with drama, just with honesty. I told her that I cared about her, but that our friendship had become unhealthy, that I was exhausted, that I couldn't continue sacrificing myself, that I hoped she would get help, real help, not the codependent sympathy that kept her stuck. She didn't take it well. She told mutual friends that I had betrayed her, that I was a terrible person, that I had abandoned her. Some people believed her, others understood. I lost some friendships in the aftermath, and I grieved that. But I also felt relief, so much relief, because I finally chose myself. A few years later, I heard through someone that Claire had gotten help, real therapy, that she was doing better, that she had learned to manage her own problems. I was genuinely happy to hear it, but I didn't reach out, because healing from a toxic friendship requires distance, and I had finally learned to prioritize my own healing. Looking back on 15 years of friendship, I learned something important. Loyalty and self-preservation are not opposites. You can care about someone and still leave. You can love someone and still protect yourself. Real friendship is reciprocal. And if it stops being reciprocal, it's not friendship anymore. It's just a pattern you're stuck in. Breaking that pattern was the kindest thing I could do for both of us.